Hey everybody, we are back at Goody and Johnny Mo with the Movies. We have been absent for quite a while, and we're going to explain that in just a second. But we are joining you for episode 41, so thank you guys so much for joining in, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on our podcast.
This is our first episode of 2021.
First one of the new year.
January. We're still in January.
We're still in January, technically.
For now.
For right now, for the next few hours. The reason why it has been so long, it is because, not because we haven't seen movies, because we have.
Well, we haven't seen movies.
Well, we see movies at home.
Yeah.
But not in the way that you would want to see movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason why we have not seen anybody is because both Johnny Mo and I had COVID.
Yep.
And we didn't give it to each other. It was at two different times.
Got it independently.
Just kind of randomly, unfortunately.
I think the last episode we did was in
Early November.
Early November,
Yeah.
and we were heading into Thanksgiving, and we were going to do something in that time frame, and then all of a sudden the COVID hit. Basically hit me and my family, and I was out of commission for a while. And then Chris got hit.
And then I got hit, yep.
And then now it's
Thankfully, my house is okay. No one in my household got it but me. My wife did a great job of making sure everybody else was safe. But, you know, we hadn't seen each other in actually a long time.
Yeah.
We were only talking to each other over the phone.
We were both in, I was in quarantine for quite a long time.
Yep. Yeah, you were definitely more than me.
Yeah.
But thankfully, we're okay. We're kind of bouncing back. And the rest of the families are okay. We hope you guys are all right out there. We know it's kind of it's been kind of crazy for the holidays. Those November and December were some bad months. But we're hoping you guys are all right. We're hoping you're starting to kind of rebound a little bit. And hopefully the start of the new year has been a good start for everybody.
Because prior to this year, the only times we had been able to go to the movies, basically when everything was basically shut down, we did hit a couple of drive-in movies.
We did a drive-in, yeah.
Yeah, and we did a review of Raiders of the Lost Ark, but basically, like, our standard, like, go to the movies, whatever, like, the normal scenario of what that is, basically shut down. And only recently have movie theaters started to open up.
Right.
And we'll get into a little bit of that later. As to what that meant for us.
But we have to do our traditional drink of the night,
yeah, totally.
which we've been looking forward to. We haven't done yet, so we're kind of doing a double. So first drink of the night is going to be.
Well, we're going to start with the liquor.
Yeah. Right. So what we got for everybody right now is a little Knob Creek. This is a privately selected barrel from a local liquor store that we have. They had a bunch of these bottles from Knob Creek. This is 120 proof. This was bottled back in January 2020.
What's the 2005 date there?
Oh, excuse me. The barrel date was 2005. This was selected in January 2020.
What's the barrel date? I don't know what that means.
So the barrel date is basically like when it was distilled and when it was put into like the barrel, and it basically just, I guess they just had it sit there.
I love how they like you can do this stuff where like a 12-year-old, like a 12-year-old Scotch. It's
right.
It's been
So
in the process for 12 years.
So this was a 15-year-old
yeah.
whiskey that was just sitting in there.
Yeah, it's pretty good too.
This has actually been really smooth.
And it's strong.
Johnny won't have had this. We started drinking this towards the fall. We got this, right?
Last summer,
beginning of fall.
We definitely bought it last year.
It was like August, September, I feel like we grabbed this.
Yeah.
So we've been knocking it down little by little, but it is very smooth.
Yeah, no, it is smooth.
And we are doing this, one, because we have beat COVID, and two, we are doing this because we are the start of the new year. We're doing our first episode of Goody and Johnny Mo of 2021. We kind of want to start it off with a bang. So.
And what's the proof on that?
This is 120 proof.
So 60% alcohol,
all right.
Which is pretty up there. That's
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's good stuff,
guys.
It's
not, it's not moonshine, grain alcohol, but it's, it's a lot stronger than the normal stuff that you usually drink.
Knob Creek's a good company. We've had a few things from them before. We've had some rye whiskey from them in the past that we've enjoyed. But this is the first time we've ever had a privately selected barrel.
Well, we're going to do the shot, but then we're going to want to do the chaser right away. So I'm going to introduce the chasers.
Do it.
Yeah, the chasers, what we have is we're both drinking the same thing. We're both drinking Canadian beer, Molson. Which I've had Molson in the past, but not that frequently. But this is the Molson Triple X, which is super premium beer, Triple X. But it's pretty strong.
Yeah.
It's 7.3% alcohol, so it's a lot stronger than your normal beer. And it's pretty good. Molson is a pretty good product. I've had their beer in the past, and I've never had this before. And this is basically polishing off the These are the last two of the 12 pack that I bought. So it's
We didn't
pretty
drink them
good.
all today. This is just
Yeah.
this
No,
is just
no.
what we had for
Yeah.
this particular show.
I might have drank half of them today. But no,
I haven't had
it's
Molson in a long time.
It's
So
actually pretty good. It's and it's got a you get a little bit more bang for your buck because it's 7.3, which I think normal beer is
probably like 5-ish, 4.5 to 5.
Yeah, so it's a good one. All right,
So
so
with that, guys, listen, we are going to cheers everybody to a hopefully brand new 2021, hopefully a much better year than
a much
2020,
safer year,
and a
and
much
we
safer
can
year.
we can finally get up to our 50th episode.
We will hit episode 50 this
In
year. we promise.
2021.
Yep. So we missed out on that, but hopefully 2021, this will definitely be the year.
Yep.
So to everyone, cheers. Please be safe.
Cheers, salute, skull.
Oh, that's so smooth. Cheers.
Cheers.
So the movie we're bringing everybody tonight is a movie that came out around Christmas time, and it
Yeah.
is Wonder Woman 84.
And I'm going to debate you on the actual title of the film because
Okay.
I think I want to say the official title of the film is WW84 because that is the only thing that appears on the screen in the opening credits for sure, and I even think in the closing credits. So
I'm still
I think the official name of the movie is WW84. Go figure.
I'm still going to say it's Wonder Woman 84. But you might be right. I just, for some reason, I can't see that being the official title of WW 84. Although that we see that throughout in the beginning of the film and at the open and the closing credits. So maybe it is, but I can't call it WW 84. For
I
some
know.
reason.
I'm
just
I'm
can't
curious
do it.
what IMDb is going to label it, and or what the movie books that come out are going to label it.
I mean, those will definitely be the more official ways of figuring that out. I mean, we could probably go on Google right now and do that too.
Oh yeah, it would already be on IMDb.com.
Oh, of course.
And the movie came out like
Came
you
out
said,
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Now
and-
this is something that was so when Wonder Woman 84 came out, there was something that had started to occur, which has been controversial, which we could always make into a sidebar. But basically, Warner Brothers has decided that they are going to release, at least in 2021, all of their films in the theater and on HBO Max at the same exact time.
new films.
New films.
Yeah.
And that they will last on HBO Max for a short period of time before staying in the theater for a longer period.
But they will open at the same
But
time.
they will open at the same time. And my belief is, of course, that they're doing this because of the pandemic and that not everybody's going to the movie theater right now. And they said that this is a short-term plan, that eventually they will go back to the traditional method of releasing everything in theaters first, and then onto their streaming services and home video releases later on after its initial theater run. But I did watch this on Christmas Day. And
Was that opening day?
That was opening day. So
On
I did
HBO Max.
on HBO Max. So I
Yeah.
got to watch it on my television. I have a decent home theater, in my house, so I got to watch that. I'm not going to say anything yet, but I was happy that Johnny Mo and I actually went to the movie theater last week.
Because I didn't see it on HBO Max, and I think maybe I have HBO Max.
You do. You have it. I hooked it up for you.
Yeah, okay. I mean that does. I still. Chris hooks up a lot of things in my house. I don't know what they are, so I needed to confirm.
So you
But
did go and see it for the first time in the theater.
I didn't want to see it on TV for the first time. I was really looking forward to see us in the theater, and then I had found that it was in the theater. Or I confirmed that it was still in the theater, and I was finally feeling good enough to go out, and I said, you know what? Let's go see it on a Saturday morning matinee.
Yep.
Being that this is like the third or fourth week that it's out,
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet you there's gonna be nobody there, and we went,
And we were right.
and there was 6 people in the theater, and that includes us. There was
I wanna-
us two other people, a couple rows back, and another 2 people. So we had the whole theater almost entirely to ourselves.
You know,
which was great.
I want to give some credit to the movie theater because this has been such a trying time because of the fact that movie theaters have been closed for over half a year.
Yeah.
And obviously movie theaters are suffering. A lot of small businesses are suffering, restaurants and so forth. Movie theaters had been closed for a very long time. And I think when they started to reopen in the like early to mid fall is when they started, at least here in New York.
What month would that be? Early to mid fall.
It had to have been like October. I feel like it was late September, early October. That
Really,
they
were
finally
open. They were open that early.
Yeah.
I thought it was almost not. I thought it was not even till November.
They did, I'm pretty sure they opened up by then, and just unfortunately, obviously they're not going to get the massive crowds right now.
I think a lot of people stayed away.
You know, so a lot of people are staying away, and understandably so. We all understand that right now. So I just want to give a big shout out to. We went to Island 16 in Holtzville. Holtzville, yeah, in Holtzville. And I got to say, these guys did a fantastic job trying to keep everybody safe, trying to take the proper measures to keep everyone distanced. Hand sanitizers all over the place. How you check in to do your tickets. How you go to purchase.
They still had popcorn.
They still had the concession stands, and you were able to purchase all that.
And the popcorn came with like.
It was covered. It was like a cellophane wrap almost that was covered, so that everything could kind of stay. I don't know if you want to say sanitized, but staying hopefully as
people. I guess people couldn't breathe.
Or you weren't getting anything on it while you were going to your actual seat,
which worked out good for me because when I got to my seat in a short amount of time, I wound up spilling my entire bag of popcorn.
Now, almost the whole.
And basically, we caught it, and the cellophane was keeping everything in, and a decent amount spilled out, but not a whole lot. Normally. In a normal scenario, the whole thing would have emptied out.
You would have lost it.
But we caught it and we pulled it back in.
Yeah.
But it was really kind of crazy that like literally only 6 people in the movie theater and I don't know,
we were the only people in our row.
But we had a giant pile of popcorn on the floor.
This was the guy that the cleaning people came in afterwards and were like, really? This one guy?
It wasn't a giant pile. It was just whatever fell just kind of had a big splatter pattern. And I was like, it wasn't a lot, but it was just like a giant arc of popcorn right in front of us. And it was actually in my field of view. I actually had to kind of corral it and push it all the way back.
Now, the one thing that was really nice, so for the theater, again, they're trying to keep to everybody's safety. Of course, you're wearing a mask once you're in the theater, the main lobby area, and we were told that once we sat down in our seats and we were having our refreshments, that's when we could take our mask off. And if we had to get up and leave at any point in time, we had to put our mask back on, which to me seems very reasonable. Almost similar to a restaurant. When you're going into a restaurant, typically you have to keep your mask on until you're seated at your table, and then you can take your mask off. So I didn't have any issues with that. Johnny Moe was fine with that.
Yeah.
Since we both had COVID, we decided that, okay, let's go take a shot and go see what the movies are like.
Yeah, we're not going to spread it to anybody, and no one can give it to us. And
right.
And it was funny, too, because when I got to the movie theater, there's a parking lot in the front and a parking lot in the back. The parking lot in the front is, people, I guess, coming off from the LIE service road.
The expressway.
Which I think a lot of people park there.
Yep.
But people parking in the back are coming from basically south of the movie theater, like, all those towns, which is where I come from. And I pulled into the back parking lot, and there were 3 other cars there.
I was one of them.
And his was one of them. And I was just like, wow. I said, you know what? We're going to be fine. This place is going to be freaking empty. And it was.
It was.
I'm sure they were.
I felt completely safe going in. Again, of course, I have the protective barrier of having the virus. But if I did not have it, and there were a couple of families that I saw that were seeing a movie that that was just recently released with small kids that were going to watch something, and all of them had masks. They were all taking the proper precautions. And I have to give the movie theater credit. They did a good job as far as trying to keep everybody safe. When Johnny Moe and I went, so when I booked the tickets, and I know that their policy is if you could book 2 or 3 seats next to one another, but the outside seats of whatever group you were going with, they would block those out so nobody could sit next to you.
Which was good.
Now, Johnny Moe, no, we had the entire row to ourselves. There were 2 people that were in the row in front of us, and of course this is stadium seating, and then there were 2 people 2 rows behind us, so we were well within that 6 feet.
But the
of
people
coverage.
the people in the row in front of us, that row was actually over
It was over and down.
over and down.
Yeah.
Like there was like a walkway in front of us.
Right, and then of course we had the barrier of the walkway.
Yeah. So they were really far away to the point that I don't even know if I knew they were
Well, we
there.
couldn't see them.
Right. I didn't even know that I knew they were there.
That giant barrier is up, so we can't even see them.
Yeah,
anyway.
I literally thought there was only 4 of us in the movie theater
Right.
until you told me there were 6.
So again, I want to give a shout out to the movie theaters, and that they are trying hard enough to keep everybody nice and safe, because they want to still be in business, and I think it's they've been hit especially hard with this.
And keep in mind, Island 16 is called Island 16 because it's got 16 movie theaters.
Right.
So whatever people are there, we're spread out over 16 different rooms.
Yeah.
So even though there might have been a lot of people parked there in front, I'm sure.
And Island 16 is
At the end of the day, but that was the strategy.
it's a showcase. It's a showcase cinemas.
yeah.
That's the company that's involved.
It was
with
good
this.
for us because I'm sitting there like we're going to see Wonder Woman in its 3rd or 4th week.
Right.
I'm expecting it to not be that bad, and that worked out
it.
perfect. So I would totally. I said this is my strategy now. If there's a movie we want to see, we go 3rd or 4th week at Island 16.
Yeah.
Because
We're trying to go for a matinee.
Sayville isn't open yet. Still.
No, my local town theater. It's a mom and pop's theater. These guys are still not open. Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised they're not open.
I am extremely upset that
I hope
these
they
guys
don't
are not open.
close.
It's very hard to stay in business, obviously, and the fact that these guys have not been open in so long. I don't know what type of financial assistance they've been given over these months, but I hope when the smoke clears and the dust settles, these guys do reopen again.
Because they are the site for my annual movie festival, the Johnny Moe annual movie festival.
But these guys are also just this mom and pops. This is a great theater for small families.
Yeah, and it's so close by. It's convenient. It's a great venue. They have good popcorn. They used to have great popcorn. Now they just have good popcorn.
It went from great to good.
Went from great to good.
But listen, they have they have four screens. If you have a local town,
It's very cozy.
it is, and it's got like a really has like almost like a little nostalgia when you walk into the place. But we really hope that these guys get to open up.
Yeah,
again
no,
so
because
we
I
can go
really
see
enjoy doing
another
my movie
there.
festival there, because I think if I have to move it to Island 16, I'm not going to get the freedom that I have there.
Yeah.
Because at Sayville, you can bring any DVD that you want and they'll play it. Whereas it looked like Island 16 was kind of doing stuff like that, but it was like they'll play any movie that's currently out now,
or within their library.
you could choose from their library.
Yeah.
And guess what? Their library, in my opinion, is probably going to be full of a lot of recent crap that I don't want to see. They're not going to have anything that I would normally pick. So at the end of the day, I'm sure I'll find a theater that can do what I need, because my next movie is going to be Frozen, and that may be in their library.
That's a possibility.
But the one that I was going to do after that, I guarantee you, is not in their library. So we shall see.
So I think with that, we're going to start getting into a little bit of our review
Wonder
of
Woman
84.
84.
So I don't even know how you want to break this movie down.
Well,
so let's just say this.
I want to start with.
Well, let me just say one thing about
Okay.
this. So this is currently still within the current DC Films universe. This is taking place. Well, this takes place, of course, in '84, which is after the first Wonder Woman film.
I want to go prior to that. I want to go with your expectations going into the film.
My expectation of the film, based on the 2 trailers that we had,
Yes,
was
that's what I want to talk about
that
first.
This to me was hyped up to be the best film in the DC Films library when it was coming out. It was supposed to surpass the first Wonder Woman film, which I enjoyed thoroughly, and I had high hopes for this film going into it.
Yeah, I saw
The
the first trailer for Wonder Woman. I saw the second one too. But when I saw the first trailer, I thought that trailer was fantastic. It was like a mini movie. It was edited and put together and connected by music.
They edited that trailer.
It is one of my favorite trailers of all time.
All time, not even recently. All time.
All time.
Wow.
One of my all-time favorite trailers. I mean, I could, I'll be honest with you. I think one day, it's going to sound crazy, but we should have an episode where we go through
Trailers?
our top 5 trailers or top 10 trailers because
That's doable.
it would be quick. But because you're not talking about the whole movie, but you're just going through because trailers can be good, trailers can be bad. Some
Trailers can set you up for failure.
Yeah. Some
of them can leave you wanting more.
Yeah, and some trailers, even though for example, I really enjoyed the first trailer for the reboot of Planet of the Apes.
The Mark Wahlberg one?
No, the one after that.
The one with
the recent series.
The Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. That was a really good trailer, but when you saw the movie, you realized that all the best parts of the movie were in the trailer and there was nothing left. There's certain trailers that are so good, you can't wait to see the movie, but then you find out that
the best parts were in the trailer.
Same thing with the Suicide Squad trailers. They put all the best parts of the Suicide Squad trailer into Suicide Squad, and it almost ruined the movie for you. My favorite trailer of all time is the trailer for The Phantom Menace, and this trailer for Wonder Woman falls in the same category. It's one of my favorite trailers of all time, and incidentally, it's better than the movie because the movie fell short. I really went into this movie expecting to be really blown away because I enjoyed the first Wonder Woman movie.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe there was a lot of hesitation in Hollywood because it's Wonder Woman. And not for nothing, it took them, I don't know, 40 years to actually, bring Wonder Woman from the small screen to the big screen.
Yeah.
And you had a woman director, and maybe they didn't give her as much latitude as they wanted, this and that. Maybe there was a little bit of hesitancy. But, basically, the first Wonder Woman movie kicked ass and made a lot of money. It was really good.
Made almost $900 million.
Right. So now I would think that, the second one comes out. No one can sit there and say, oh, no, this is a risk. No, it's not a risk because the first one made
proven.
Buku dollars.
Yeah.
So now you can kind of... I would almost want to say the creative people involved don't have to prove a point to do what they want to do. They could just do it.
I will say this. I think they took some chances with this film. And I don't know who took the chances. I don't know if it was more Patty Jenkins or was this more or Warner Brothers. I don't know how much. I know Warner Brothers had interference with the ending of the first Wonder Woman film. Patty Jenkins has been on record saying this. I don't know if there was any interference on this film. I do know that the story was written by, I believe, Patty Jenkins and also Jeff Johns, who has been a writer at DC Comics for a number of years.
Yeah, and you would think that he would be on point.
And Jeff Johns, if you've ever read any of his stuff in the comic realm of DC Comics, he has written some of the best stories in the last 20 years.
Give me some examples, because I'm not familiar.
So
I'm sure I've read them, some of them, but I don't know that he did them.
He wrote Flashpoint. He wrote Green Lantern Rebirth. He wrote Flash Rebirth. He's written Superman Secret Origin. He helped and wrote Infinite Crisis.
Okay.
There's a number of stories that he has helped to write in the last 20, 25 years. And most of those stories have all been extremely well done. He knows these characters inside out. So when we get to this story here...
Yeah, because my expectation going in really was like you know what, whoever needed to prove themselves in the first movie did it. So now it's like the second movie.
You got to build on that.
Yeah, the second movie is just going to be like, and they come out with this trailer that absolutely, it's.
You just rewatched.
We just watched.
You just rewatched
Chris
the trailer.
is showing me the trailer to the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. He showed me the trailer to Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla versus Kong. Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah,
Godzilla versus Kong. And I'm like, you know what?
King Kong?
We got all these trailers. I said, Chris, just throw in the Wonder Woman trailer, the first one, because it is so freaking good. It is. It's so I could watch. I remember when that trailer came out. I watched that trailer.
You made me play it multiple times.
I think I watched that trailer 40 times. Like we would just sit there and say, just play it again, play it again. It was so good. So I was really going into this movie with high expectations, expecting it to be a really enjoyable, kick-ass DC superhero movie. Because every single thing in that trailer was like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that
Yeah.
looks good. Oh, that looks good. And it's funny, they didn't, even in the first trailer, you only got, I don't even think you got a hint of Cheetah. All you saw
No.
was
You saw Barbara.
Kristen
You saw
Wiig
Barbara Minerva.
as just as a normal
As Barbara,
woman.
that's it. That's all you saw.
And
you
then
saw,
I think in the second trailer, you
There's
got
like
a
a quick-
little
yep.
hint
Yep.
of the Cheetah character. Because I remember telling Chris, I'm going like, all right, who's the bad guy? After seeing the trailer,
Yeah.
who's the bad guy? And I think you said it was Cheetah
and Max Lord.
and Max Lord. And I was like, I have no idea who Max Lord is. And he kind of explained to me a little bit. But I knew who Cheetah was because Cheetah is a...
She's
I think I want
arch
to say.
nemesis.
I think I want to say Cheetah is the classic Wonder Woman villain.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's. I'm pretty sure her first appearance was in the early '40s, like Wonder Woman '5 or something like that, and she's been around the whole time.
She's been around a long time.
and she's a kind of a classic character that I think has been through a lot of permutations. But I know when I got my George Perez sketch of Cheetah, I wanted to be traditional Cheetah, maybe not like the little cheesy way that she was drawn back in the '40s, but kind of like the '70s Cheetah.
Yeah.
which he kind of realized what I wanted. But it's one of my absolute favorite sketches.
So there's some things that I want to say right off the bat. The performances in this film, I enjoyed all of them. I enjoyed Gal Gadot again
I agree.
as Wonder Woman.
I enjoyed
fantastic.
Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
Some standouts to me: Kristen Wiig
I
was
thought
so good.
Kristen Wiig was fantastic.
I thought she was great.
I think she was by far the best part of
I think
that movie.
she was the standout.
She was a
I
standout.
think she was the standout in
Even
this
more
film.
so than Gal Gadot, because Gal Gadot was fine as Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
But it was almost like a status quo. Like,
Well, she was continuing her role from
Yeah, she-
Wonder Woman,
she-
which she nailed in the first
she's
Wonder
a
Woman
perfect
film.
cast for her role, and she
Yeah.
does it well, and she did it well.
Yep.
And then you get Kristen Wiig, who just
Because
was stellar.
Because
she
most
most
of us
exceeded expectations.
most of us know Kristen Wiig. Okay, we know her
And
comedic roles.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I don't know her that well. I never saw her on Saturday Night Live.
You never saw Bridesmaids?
I saw Bridesmaids, but I don't remember
Like
her
she was
being the
she was
standout.
she was the main character.
I thought the chubby chick was the comedic standout.
She was the
Well,
other
what is her
main
name?
character. Maya Rudolph.
No.
Oh, Melissa McCarthy?
Yeah.
She was
stole the show.
She stole
Yeah.
she stole scenes, but she was the side character. She was not
Okay.
She was not the main role. But like to me, like Kristen Wiig, everyone knows her from Saturday Night Live.
Was she in the Ghostbusters movie?
Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig, they both were.
Okay, and see, I didn't like that movie that much. So.
But again, like you're talking about these comedic roles, and in this
Yeah.
movie here, like Kristen Wiig, there's like a small hint of that, but then there's this more seriousness of this character, and she
Yeah.
brings that across, and it's a
Yeah.
little different from what she's normally doing.
Yeah.
And she did it really well.
I mean, it was really kind of in the beginning. It was like it was a dramatic role. It was a dramatic performance because she's playing
Yeah.
like a kind of reserved type of like nerdy type. person.
Yes, exactly. And like the stereotypical
Yeah.
like nerd with glasses and just dressed a certain way,
Right.
not popular, like the old stereotype of a nerd in a museum, and
Yeah.
the artifact pretty much in this film is like this Make-A-Wish crystal
Yeah.
that it's almost like it's a monkey's paw, right?
Yeah.
That's how it's described in the film. It's a monkey's paw that was made by one of these ancient gods, and it basically creates, makes any wish that you think of or say come true. And all of a sudden, she wishes to become Diana,
Right.
or at least she wants to be as cool and as powerful.
So then
as Diana.
later on, like now she becomes like almost like kind of, like outgoing and
Right.
just like this aura.
and she's seen as beautiful,
and sexy.
Yeah,
But it was funny though because I remember at one point leading over to Chris, I'm like, I was like, before she became that, I was like, you know, not for nothing, everybody's like scoffing at her, but I found like nerdy Kristen Wiig to be super freaking hot. I was like, you know what? I'd be taking her out to lunch and whatever.
Chris,
Like,
well,
because she's not like a supermodel. Or
no, but she's not an attractive girl to begin
not
with.
an attractive.
So you sticking glasses on her and like an oversized like sweater and skirt. She's still an attractive girl, and then when you take and then when you all of a sudden when she starts to morph into this new character after her wish comes true,
Yeah.
she really starts to stand out a lot more. And I thought her performance was really good.
Yeah.
You go to Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, she is, to me, definitely the standout.
I agree 100%. She's a standout in this movie.
Because I just want to put it out there that, like, my overall, like, feeling for this film after seeing the whole thing was, you're going to find this hard to believe, but I hated it. I mean, I really hated this film. I think I still need to see it again, and I think some of the things that I like are going to become stronger. But overall, I found the movie to be absolute, and in protest of that, I purposely am wearing a Marvel shirt because I'm like, I'm not wearing a DC shirt. I really think they dropped the ball with this film.
Well, we'll talk about more about that. I think there's definitely time for that.
I have so many criticisms of this film, like in so many different areas. It's except for Kristen Wiig.
Well,
I could talk about her performance all night.
So the other actor that we have in this who really, really stood out in the trailers was Pedro Pascal.
And I don't know him at all for anything prior to this.
And this is the funny
no
thing.
idea
So,
who he
like, you know, Pedro Pascal, before Wonder Woman 84 and before the last 2 years, really has been much more of an unknown actor. The fact that he was in Game of Thrones for a little bit, he had...
who was he in Game of Thrones?
He was...
He was
from
the guy who got killed by the mountain.
By the mountain.
Got his eyes plugged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something with an M.
I
completely forget. But anyway, so that was like one of the first instances that we really saw Pedro Pascal and especially stand out. And then, of course, Pedro Pascal has been Din Djarin, otherwise known as the Mandalorian, for the last 2 seasons.
Which I've only seen a couple episodes of that.
So to me, having him in this adds in a whole other level because of the fact that Pedro Pascal is a very good actor.
See, I didn't like him in this movie. I didn't like his character or his portrayal.
So here's the thing. I liked Pedro Pascal in this. I liked partially what he did with the role of Max Lord. Max Lord is a character that in the comic books is much more... He's very evil. Like, he is much more menacing and much more calculated in the comic books than he is in the films.
Yeah.
And in this film. And in the comic book, back in the mid-2000s...
I would hope so.
In the mid-2000s, there was a storyline where Max Lord was... he has the ability of almost like mind manipulation. And at one point was even controlling Superman. So the only way to end that is that Wonder Woman finds him and snaps his neck and kills him. And that leads us into the Infinite Crisis storyline. I'm not going to go into that. But, you know, that was a huge deal that a superhero killed someone. And it was Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman has always been known for compassion and love. And here she is actually literally snapping somebody's neck. And that's what was actually drawn on the page.
You know what? There's a small instance in Kingdom Come where Wonder Woman kills someone.
Yes.
And it's a big deal. They're just like, oh my God. Like, Wonder Woman is in her total battle armor. She's got her sword. And at some point, something happens. And she just drives her sword right through this guy's chest and kills the guy.
Now, that is an Elseworld story.
But everybody just sits there and goes like, oh my. Everybody just sits there and
yes.
like, oh my God.
Right.
But when you said that, that reminded me of that because that takes place in an Elseworlds in the future.
When I first saw this trailer and I saw this film coming out and that Pedro Pascal was going to be playing Maxwell Lord, I had a whole different idea of what Maxwell Lord was going to be, and I think we'll get to that in a little bit as far as what he ended up becoming in this film. But I did end up liking what what Pedro Pascal did for the most part with this role, because I did think he's a good actor and I think he did well in this role.
I think I have multiple criticisms of this film. But I think one of my big criticisms of the film, and I think most of my criticisms stem to just the writing, the story that they put together and said, "This is the story we're going to tell." When
Yeah.
we put it on film, and so much of it didn't make sense.
But you can, and listen, I don't disagree with you. I think I appreciate the acting and the people that brought the roles to life on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and I can appreciate that and say it. I thought they did a good job.
Oh yeah, no,
I think they were also limited,
Yeah.
by the
I
storytelling.
think most of my criticism
is with the story.
Is with the story.
I agree with you.
Because there are so many things that are either stupid or convenient or make no sense or just absurd, and it's almost like
Not in that particular order.
yeah, and it's almost like so much of the plot is really just almost contrived, like and put together, like with the logic that you would find in a 1960s DC comic, which
Like a Silver Age book.
yeah, it's a Silver Age. It's a Silver Age. It has the trappings of a Silver Age DC story, which is not going to be the most logical story. It's not going to be the story that makes the most sense. It's just a story that's just kind of thrown together and you go with the flow and everything happens the way it happens. But like just the way this movie was put together, and because it takes place in the DC cinematic universe, if that's a thing, it's just like I feel like you can't get away with that type of story because it undermines
Well, there's the continuity of
it undermines
Everything
the legitimacy and the seriousness of the continuity that is taking place.
Well, it's a good thing that takes place in the past because ultimately, like
Yeah.
most of the stories for the DC EU take place after all this.
Right, but
I mean,
it's almost
you're
like-
talking
like-
like Man of Steel is if Man of Steel is the ground zero, right? If
Right.
that's the first entry film, the first two Wonder Woman, and
Mm-hmm.
then Wonder Woman 84, of course, take place in the past.
No, it just doesn't have like a logical story, logical storytelling sense. It just like it's simplistic overtones, and I don't think the first Wonder Woman we have that. And the one movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I find that comparable to is the most recent Spider-Man movie, Far From Home,
Yeah, very
where
good.
it was like literally watching. It was like literally reading. I want to say like a
No, I know. I was not a huge fan of that
1960s
film.
Spider-Man book where stuff just happened. Oh,
Yeah.
so and so is on the Ferris wheel. Like no, like the odds of that happened. Like there was so many conveniences and,
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Yeah,
there.
it was-
the last thing I want to say about the performances because I know we want to get into the story.
yeah.
But like I love Chris Pine, and I think I really liked him in the first film.
Yeah.
And I liked him equally as much, if not even more so, in this film because Chris Pine was almost the heart of the movie. He was an emotional aspect of this film.
Yeah.
That gets kind of pulled along, and especially towards his ending. in
even
this film.
even though his existence is really
Questionable.
makes no sense and is actually kind of
it's
funny.
it's very controversial.
There's an irony to
there's
what they did.
yes,
Which
yeah.
I don't even know if you know, but we'll get to that.
Right.
Because it's been done before.
I just I think Chris Pine did a really great job. Of course, again with this role, it was a very interesting way in bringing him back because Diana secretly wishes she gets her hands on this crystal, which we later found was created by this ancient
One of the
gods.
gods.
And it's a mischievous god. So it's a god that's about tricking people, and essentially it's the monkey's paw. And Diana gets her hands on it, and then secretly wishes to bring Steve back. And there is an emotional component in the beginning because you see Diana. Diana is Wonder Woman, and she saves all these people from the mall. And she's Wonder Woman, and she's doing her thing, and she has been, it seems, at least since the end of World War I from her first film. But you see she's lonely, like she's going to dinner by herself. She's going for these walks by herself. She's looking up at a modern airplane in the 80s and obviously thinking about Steve Trevor. So she's been to the Steve Trevor Ranch. Like you can see that she's led almost a lonely life because she can't get over her first love. And when she gets an opportunity to make a wish, her first wish is she'd wish Steve was back.
Yeah.
And he does come back, but he comes back
Ba-
not as Steve. He comes back in this other person's body.
This other person's body is taken over.
Right. By Steve's
By
soul,
Steve Trevor.
By Steve Trevor, however you want to put it.
Yeah, and it's really weird because at the end of the day, it's like if
you and I
if
are looking
Wonder-
at this
if
person,
Wonder
we're
Woman-
not seeing Steve Trevor. We're seeing
we
the
are,
guy.
we're seeing the guy.
We're seeing the guy.
Because if
But
Wonder
she
Woman,
sees Steve.
if Wonder Woman never renounces her wish, she's with Steve Trevor forever, and this
Right.
poor freaking guy, his life is shot. It's gone.
His life is over.
His life is over. It's like, I'm like, wow, that's kind of screwy. So before I get into the crystal, which I think is the crux of a lot of the criticisms I have, the thing I was talking about before is okay, so let's so Steve Trevor dies in the first Wonder Woman movie.
Right.
But now we have Wonder Woman 84. And we want Chris Pine back because he's cheesecake, eye candy, whatever you want to call it, and everybody likes it.
He's a decent actor.
Well, no, but they don't want Chris Pine. They want Steve Trevor. They want Wonder Woman 84,
have
Gal
Steve
Gadot,
Trevor.
Wonder Woman, to be interacting with Steve Trevor like they did in the first Wonder Woman movie because that's a great dynamic and it works well on screen.
Right.
But guess what? Steve Trevor's
He's
dead.
dead.
So what do? Well, you just have this
You gotta bring him
scenario
back.
where, she just wishes he was back and, there's something that can grant that wish and he's back and now he's here for the whole movie and everybody's happy. And it's like, it's kind of stupid, but it's like somebody just says, basically somebody at the DC, writing whatever said, well, who's, Wonder Woman's, going to be partner in this film? And they're like, well, Chris Pine was great with him. Somebody said, well, he's dead. Well, how do we bring him back? I don't know. Let's just bring him back. And everyone's just going to frickin' buy it. And that'll be the end. And, who cares? Because people are stupid and we can do what we want. And it's like, it'll work. Because people will just be happy about it. Even though if they sat there and think about it, they're going to go, are you freaking kidding me? And this is basically what they did in the Wonder Woman TV show back in the late 70s.
Yes.
The first season of the Wonder Woman TV show
this I'm aware
took
of.
place in World War II. And I forget the actor's name, but he played Steve Trevor, and the whole season was Wonder Woman Linda Carter, and Steve Trevor played by,
Whatever the actor was.
I can't remember his name, but I know it, but it's eluding me at the moment. And then they said, okay, now we're doing Wonder Woman season 2, and it's like, well, we don't want to do World War II again. Let's have it take place in present day. And they're like, okay, so
It's early 70s or mid 70s.
this is mid to late. This is like late 70s.
Mid to
I
late
think
70s.
probably 77ish. I think is when
Okay.
it came out, 76, 77. And they're like, all right, so how do we get the guy in the show that played Steve Trevor the first time? And they were like,
grandson.
son. He's the son.
Oh, he's the son, not even a grandson.
I think he's the son. He's the son of Steve Trevor Jr. And it's played by the same exact actor. And, they meet in the first episode, and he's like, oh, you're Wonder Woman. I remember my dad telling me about stories about you and blah, blah, blah. And that's how they get the same exact guy pretty much playing the same exact character
They
in the
could have
TV
done
show.
that with this, where they could have done like it's
Which
Steve
was-
Trevor's
right.
like, grandson.
Right. It was just...
his because look, there's the conversation with two of them in the first Wonder Woman film on the boat. Like he talks about because she asks him like, have you had like the pleasures of the flesh and like all this stuff?
Yeah.
And like obviously he has. So there's nothing to say that he didn't get it on with somebody before he left for World War I
Right.
and didn't get that woman pregnant and then end up having kids. So there was always that possibility.
Right.
And if they would have gone that route, people may have been a little bit more forgiving of the fact that, okay, his grandson just kind of happens to look like his grandfather
Right.
because of genes. So you could possibly let that go.
I remember the guy's name, Lyle Waggoner.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, basically, Lyle Waggoner probably signed on for the whole series, and they were like,
Right.
"Wait a minute, how are you going to write me into season 2?" But like, they got away with it because it was the same actor playing a different character. It was literally Steve Trevor Jr.
Right.
And it was like, it was very corny. It was very convenient, but it was okay because
It worked.
It worked. And in this case, you just have like they didn't go that route. 'Cause I mean, I think if they went that route, they would have said we can't go that route because that's exactly what they did in the Wonder Woman TV show.
Which I actually think would have.
Right.
I honestly
think
think if they would have made him his grandson,
I think it
would have.
I think it would have been better, but I have a feeling that they said we can't do the same thing if someone's going to, accuse us of being a copycat. We got to be able to do something more creative than what they did in the TV show back in the 70s. But their answer to that, the solution,
yeah.
was ridiculous, and it's really really hard to swallow because you sit there and it's like, oh, it's Chris Pine playing Steve Trevor. But if you think about how he's in the movie, it's like it's one of those like, really?
Listen,
really? That's what you're gonna do?
To me, this is almost an homage to one of my favorite shows back in the late '80s, which was Quantum Leap. Okay,
which I never saw.
Oh, that's a problem. So in Quantum Leap, this guy is traveling through time. He's from the future. He travels back in time within his own life. In his own lifetime, and he's inhabiting other people's bodies.
Okay.
And every time he looks in the mirror, he sees that person's reflection.
Okay.
But we only see him in the show. So to me, like, this is exactly that instance where Steve Trevor's soul is in this person's body, and everybody else sees that person. But of course, we're seeing Chris Pine and Steve Trevor, as well as I believe Wonder Woman has almost convinced herself to see, because she even says that in the film. That's a line for her, where she says, "All I see is you. I don't see this guy."
You think Gal Gadot actually sees the other guy?
I believe she convinces herself to see Steve.
That's interesting. I think that's a gray area.
I think it's a gray area too. I think that's open for interpretation.
I think she sees Steve.
No, that's what I mean.
But I think
she sees Steve.
But I think visually, it's not something that she's imposing. I think because it's a crazy wish with this scenario.
Because it's her wish, she gets to see Steve.
She gets to see Steve. She's not imagining it's Steve. That body presents itself to her as Steve.
Yes, but nobody else, but only her.
I think so. Okay,
that's my thought.
Okay,
yeah,
because I can accept
she
that.
says that because when they're in his apartment, when Steve brings her back to this guy's place, she says to him while she's sitting on the couch, like, "All I see is you."
Yeah.
So to me, that means that it's exactly what it means. She only sees Steve, and she doesn't see who the guy is, and.
So now
that's kind of what we go with.
Yeah,
and listen.
So now they put that in place,
right? And then you have to accept it, and you move,
and you move forward. Now with basically, it's
this guy.
It's the combination of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, which is what you had in the first film, and now you have it in the second film, even though it's 40 some odd years later.
So you've worked that in.
So I think my biggest criticism of this film is, I want to say, the stone or the crystal, whatever it is.
Yes.
And not the existence of it, but how it is pulled into the film. Because Max Lord, in my opinion, is literally, in this movie, he is just a guy who's a con man.
He's a con man.
Doing a Ponzi scheme.
Yep.
And he's flying by the edge of
his
seat.
But it's like, the theme of the 80s around that time, I think that's what they were going for, was like this type of, these guys are trying to get rich quick.
Yeah.
And a lot about oil and everything.
I have no problem with that.
Like, they fit the timeline.
Yeah.
I thought Patty Jenkins fit the timeline very well.
Yeah. No, I have no problem with his character, except that it makes absolutely no sense that he would have any knowledge of any kind of, one, the existence of this crystal,
right,
and where it currently resides,
yeah,
and how to get access to it.
It's very glossed over because they don't really discuss it. The only thing that you know is that when Diana goes through the rummage of the packing materials in the museum, there is an invoice or a payment slip of the fact that this crystal was supposed to go to Maxwell Lord, or that he paid for it, but that it was in that mall inside that little, like, side room, that vaulted room that basically had all these artifacts.
And how did it get there?
Right. No one knows. That's
Right.
that's not, you don't get to know
So,
that.
like, you basically have this all-powerful crystal that's apparently been around for thousands of years.
Right, if not
And,
more. But
and it, like, well, where is it today?
it's
It's in the back room
Right.
of some store in a mall that's like a front
that-
for stolen
that was a
artifacts.
front for
And
stolen
it's like-
artifacts. And that, I mean, obviously that stone, those guys most likely were taking that stone and bringing it to Max Lord.
Right.
Right, in the mall. But they ended up getting caught. So that's my
And
thought.
not to me, that whole mall battle was a little corny.
I liked that battle
Yeah.
scene. I enjoyed that.
I thought it was a
It's
little.
showcasing her a little bit. It showcased like
Yeah.
where she is right now, and
I felt it had just that little.
it gave it that like '80s feel of what the mall was like in the '80s.
Yeah, no. I see. I like the surrounding of everything, where everything is, like the whole recreation of the '80s, where everybody
Yes.
is. Like, I like that. I just found it a little corny because it's like, okay, so for some reason, Wonder Woman is doing random acts of heroism, and
Yes.
she's almost like, I don't know, almost like an urban legend.
Urban legend, yeah.
You know, and it's like, the whole thing, her showing up at the mall, and like, the little girl, and it's just like, I'm like,
Oh, I like the little girl. I
like,
thought
to
that
me,
was cute.
it was corny. It was cute.
No, it was cute and corny, but like,
But it was
I
corny.
dealt with it
And
because
I'm
I'm
just
like, but that's Wonder Woman's character is other than when she's not the warrior,
Mm-hmm.
okay, she is this compassionate, loving character. Like that's her at her core. But when she's ready to throw down, she's there for that. So I liked what they did in this scene, just showing her off a little bit.
I think I would have liked that scene more if it was embedded in a better film. Because it's
Okay.
like, you know what I'm saying? It's just one of
But
these
and this
where
was
it's
like the opening to the film.
yeah, it's just like
Pretty much.
It was so Max Lord is not, he's not Lex Luthor. He's not Dr. Frickin' Doom.
No, he's a con man.
He's not Kang, time traveler. He's
he-
a regular frickin' guy
Yeah.
with high aspirations who's got balls enough to just go balls to the wall and just take everybody's money, like he's like a, I want to say he's a high performing con man,
But like his whole plan
you know?
rallied around him getting this monkey's paw. and
Well, that's
getting
the whole
stone.
thing. That's the whole thing that doesn't make sense is that like,
Listen, how he knew
I
about
don't
that.
think I don't think that was his plan. I think that was incidental.
No.
I think he's been doing this
No, he
this is his life.
He had
and
been the
this is
comment for a long time. But if you
Yeah.
listen to when Diana and Steve go into his personal office, and when they raid,
Mm-hmm. Well,
it,
no, they find
and
his-
they
find
they
his-
look at all this stuff, and
yeah.
like they're like he's been looking for this
right.
thing for a
and
while.
that to me, I don't buy because
but
he
it-
would have no knowledge of it because check it out.
But they don't show. But, well, hold on. They don't show.
He's
any
not
of
an
that.
archaeological guy.
No, he's not. He's a con man.
Right.
So, like, how did he find out about this? How did he know about this?
Right.
Obviously, this is... And Steve and Diana are both like, this has been in... even Kristen Wiig. Kristen
No.
Wiig is the one who says, like,
this is the
you've
problem.
seen this
is the
symbol
thing.
around.
Nobody knows about this. Wonder Woman saw it, had no idea what it was. The FBI have no idea
Yeah, but you
what it
would...
is.
But
all the archaeological
Would
people.
you expect the FBI to know about this thing?
Yes.
No, the FBI would know about this.
No, but they're if they're looking if they're looking
outta here.
no, they want the FBI wanted to find out. They wanted information on
what this was.
right?
Yes.
Okay,
But they wouldn't know about it.
No, but they have no information on what it is.
I don't count the FBI in this.
Right.
Zero
Okay. But-
credibility.
but-
Zero.
The archaeological people have no idea what this is.
Barbara didn't, but she found out what
The
it was.
FBI is the government.
I don't expect them to know that.
There's no files on this thing.
No.
Nobody knows about
No.
this thing.
Listen, there's always people making... Listen,
Right.
you're always going to make fun of that because guess what? Did they know what it was with Indiana Jones? No. They made fun of that. That's the joke.
Yeah, no, but my point is, nobody on the planet knows about this thing,
But when
except Max Lord. And that makes no sense.
But when Diana found the inside of that ring, she knew exactly what it was.
Because she's a goddess, and this is something created by the gods.
When she got to
she might be one of the only, except for people inhabiting Paradise Island, she might be the only person
outside
who
of
could
reality.
even
Yes.
But
Barbara knew that. Barbara Minerva knew that symbol of that stone had been around at multiple cultures.
No, they didn't know that.
But no, she found that out later when she looked it up. When she started to investigate it.
So what you have is you have a scenario where nobody on the planet except people who deal with the gods, like the what are they on? Paradise Island people.
Themyscira.
Nobody in the human world, non-superhuman world, knows about this thing, and everybody's trying to figure it out. But Max Lord's he knows it's the key to his success.
Yeah.
Somehow, makes no sense that he would know that because he's not like an evil genius.
No. I agree.
And what you have is that the FBI know nothing about it and apparently can't figure anything out. And what you have is you have Kristen Wiig, who Wonder Woman says, find out what you can. She goes online for an afternoon and all of a sudden can trace
Johnny Mo, I want to tell you something.
every place that this thing has appeared in since in the last 4,000 years.
I want to make one little correction.
And she put it all together.
Can I make one little correction?
Yes.
It was 1984. They didn't have online. There was no internet back then, okay? I'm really sorry.
Oh, my God.
There's no internet. There's no Google. There's nothing like that.
I am so glad you brought that up. No internet? Are you kidding me? That's right. It's 1984. There's no internet. So how on earth does Kristen Wiig in an afternoon find all of these references tracing back anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 years where she's seeing, oh, this item was here with the Mayans, with this people, with those people, with those people. Like, and what is she looking at? History books? I mean,
No, listen. Fair enough.
If it was present day,
you could see that.
I could see her finding it all with the internet. But if that's the case, why couldn't the FBI find it with the internet? Why couldn't anybody else find it with the internet? Why is it a complete mystery that's behind the scenes?
But that's because the FBI wanted to talk with
you. The imagery of this artifact is there visually in all the things that.
But they don't know what they're. But you know what though? Like people like the FBI and anyone else who's looking at this don't know what they're looking at. That's why they're asking for the experts in this realm.
Right.
And Barbara's known as one of the experts.
None of the experts know anything about it. But
she didn't either initially.
Right, but my point is if the images are there,
right,
somewhere, somebody knows about it.
But it's few and far between. Because it was made by one of the gods. The only people that are going to know that, Diana, Themyscira. That's pretty much it. Unless people that have lived through that.
But it shows
the images
up.
That
it showed up in history books. It showed up on coins.
Right. Because which is one of the reasons why Barbara figured that out.
Right. But like the fact that it's there somewhere, it's like.
Did you expect other people to come out of the woodwork saying, "I know what that is"? Was that what you were looking for?
It's hard to believe that nobody knows what it is, but one person was able to figure out the entire history of it. Nobody on the planet knows what it is, but one person, when asked to figure out what it is, found all the information available in an afternoon.
It was more than an afternoon. It was more than
a day.
Maybe a day.
A day. In one day, was able to trace this thing because she goes, okay. Let me tell you what I found out. Let me tell you what I figured out. It was in this civilization, and this because I found it here. Oh, it's on these corners. I'm like,
listen, it's a 2.5-hour movie. Okay?
I know.
They got to figure it out quick.
I know, but that's the whole thing. They put this thing together that it's hard to swallow. It's like,
listen,
you needed to come up with something that made more sense.
Listen, I agree with you. I think there is definitely some plot holes in this that you could stick these giant giant sticks through.
Because the whole thing with that crystal, that's like the premise of the film. Max Lord wants
that thing
it.
Is the
He
the
gets
gimmick.
it,
and he becomes
it,
Yeah.
and it affects the whole film.
right.
And it's just like it's that premise that you're asked to buy, and at face value, you look at it and you go, it's one of those things where I'm just looking at it like, are you kidding me?
No, I agree, and then,
It's like
and we get to
it's like the guy from Blockbuster decided to take over the world, and there's an item on the planet that can do it, and he knows where it is, and he got it.
I think
I was like, are you kidding me?
I think there were some good shots in this film, some good sequences. One of them was the sequences when they're flying, and you see the whole like invisible jet, where Steve's flying the jet, and she makes the jet invisible, and then they fly through the fireworks on the 4th of July. I thought that was
I thought that was nice, but I found the whole part about them getting there to be weird.
She has access because she's part of the.
Why does she have access?
She's part of the museums. She has access to all the different museums, pretty much, because it seems like she's sort of high up.
The plane that they're flying was like a museum piece.
Yeah, that was a museum piece in like
Okay.
like an aviation museum.
But they were
that
flying.
museum in DC.
They were flying a modern jet. I thought
It's yes, a little bit more of a modern jet, correct?
so. Would Steve Trevor be able to take his 1940s pilot knowledge and be able
40s.
to?
He was in World War II. I'm pretty sure that was World War One.
Okay, so would Steve Trevor be able to take his World War One
Knowledge.
and apply it to a modern day jet and be able to fly that without crashing into a building?
Figuring out the electronics is one thing. Being able to fly it, yes, I think he would have no problem flying it. I think the electronics would be the more difficult part because that would be different. The electronic dash would probably be very different from what he was used to flying.
But isn't that what he had, an electronic dash?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no, that's what
he
I'm
figured
saying.
it out.
Yeah, like
Listen,
I found
could he figure it out? Yes. I think it would have taken a lot more time than what they gave him in the film.
They just and I think the thing that I found, and I don't know why they explained it this way, but like when they talked about like the plane becoming invisible, Diana was like, oh, I can make the plane invisible. He's like, oh, that's great. He's like, yeah, but I've never done it on something this size before. I did it once before on a coffee mug, and then I was never, and then I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, so you're basically saying that you're really not good at this task,
right?
all.
Which is what he said. But like Steve says that.
But then she's able to make the jet
right
invisible.
But that's the person growing and
I'm just like,
and coming more into their
I'm like,
power.
all right, that just to me that just made it sound stupid because when you present it that way, you sit there and you go, well, then she shouldn't be able to do this, but then she does, and you're like,
I think
they just should have presented it as something that she can do, and she did it.
I think what would have made it better is if she actually failed on the first attempt. If she tried doing it and it didn't work.
Yeah, and then she tried it
again,
right?
And then she got it.
And again, these seem like nitpicky things, but it's like when there's one after the other, after the other, after the other, it contributes to the overall feel and detriment of the film. You sit there and you go, how much am I expected to swallow and just accept? There's so much that you're like you just sit there and go, really? Okay, Steve Trevor's back. I'll accept that. And then it's like, then you just have to constantly accept these things that should be hard to accept.
Right.
And when you have to do that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, you sit there and you just get to go like, you know what? At the end of the day, this movie doesn't make sense. It's really hard to swallow. And what does it have to salvage it? And story-wise, it was really hard to salvage.
If you're talking about the story, then that's going to be a little more difficult.
And it's throughout. There's so many points in the story where you just sit there and go, and I'm just like, really? Okay. It makes no sense, but let's just keep going, and you just keep going and going and going. And you just hope that some of the performances kind of rise above. And like I said, Kristen Wiig rised above. Gal Gadot was on point as usual.
Yeah.
She was.
She did the role great.
She was solid.
There was solid throughout the film. Hold on one second. Don't move.
Get the fart.
No, I don't have to fart.
We lost video.
No, we're good. I just want to make sure that
Oh, it just
the
blacked
laptop.
out.
Yeah, blacked out. I want to make sure that we didn't fuck that up. Okay, don't move. Don't move. Don't move.
Okay, so
I liked Pedro Pascal. I thought he did good in the role, and again, I liked Chris Pine. Like the four main characters of this film, I thought did their job well. I'm not gonna be upset at either of those performances because I thought they really, really did a good job as far as what they were given.
yeah.
The story we can critique all day long, and I think it is a. There are parts of the story that aren't fantastic. I did like the battle scene that that led from the flight when they were over in I don't know if it was Egypt or Israel, wherever they had to fly to they confronted Pedro Pascal, they confronted Max Lord.
Oh yeah,
and they had that fight on the road with all the trucks.
Well, very conveniently, they happened to be driving by the opposite way.
But they knew where they were going.
Yeah, I know, but it's a big country.
No, but they knew where they were. No,
there's a lot of roads.
But no, there's not.
I don't buy that.
No,
I'm like,
there's-
come on.
I'm
I'm
pretty
like, like if someone's going to the Pentagon, it's like,
There's a main road.
there's a lot of roads to the Pentagon, in and out of the
But
Pentagon.
there's a main
I'm just
road
like,
to get there.
like they got there right
And excuse
at the
me,
right
not
time.
to mention, you're talking,
on
dude.
the
You're talking
right
differences
road.
between Washington D.C. and this country over in Europe.
Okay,
so let's not talk about that. There's multiple ways to get to this palace
at the right time, and they're just driving, and they go, "Oh, wait a minute, we just drove past them. Turn around." Like they're almost like what they're doing is almost like trying to find a needle in a haystack, and they just had like the whole needle presented to them like a giant freaking needle stabbing them in the head. It's just like they're getting this information on the fly. We gotta go here, and it's just like, we're on the same road. Let's get them. And I'm just like,
So, listen.
I'm like, really?
I will say this: I enjoyed, after that convenient meetup, I did enjoy the action of that scene. Thank you for that. I enjoyed that fight sequence that she ended up having with multiple machines, and we see all of us. We do notice that something's going on with Diana. We notice that something is wrong with her,
and you know
something starts to become off in this scene.
Yeah, and I have a problem with that because they make it sound like she lost her powers, but she obviously didn't.
She's losing her
She's
powers.
weakened.
I think she's losing.
She's
her
doing
powers.
a lot of superhuman stuff.
Right, but she's not down to nothing. To me,
but
it's
she's got superhuman powers. So
the monkey's paw is what? It's a give and take.
Yeah,
So you're
you make
getting
a wish.
something. You have to give up something.
Right, so what
in
did
this
she
case,
give up?
She's giving up her abilities.
not all of them, though.
But it's not. But it's not her abilities like that. It's her
It should
abilities
have been.
over time.
But no, it should have been like that.
But then you would have had a big gap in the movie.
Well, she should have given. They should have given it. She should have given it something else.
But it makes her much more vulnerable as she starts to lose them because she's
But
not
it-
used to that. She's used to having all this power.
She's not like she can get shot, but she's also capable. But she was still capable of running full speed with vehicles and pushing off tanks and. Like she's doing all this superhuman stuff.
But she wasn't even at that point. She wasn't at full strength, and you saw her struggle.
Yeah, I know.
And I think that they showed
and
that's
my point. Is like, what did she lose? Half of her strength?
I think it's not even half. I think it's just a matter of it's progressively getting worse to the point where at the point when we get into the White House when she's fighting the Cheetah, when she's fighting Kristen Wiig before she's Cheetah, and at this point. You have Diana going downhill in her abilities, and you have Cheetah going up in hers.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden she starts to really command the fight. And the only thing that helps to save Diana for a period of time is the fact that she has tactical training.
Yeah.
So that she can hold her own, even though that at this point I really feel that Kristen Wiig was stronger than Diana
Right.
in those scenes.
So that whole thing with like grant a wish, get something taken
Get something
away.
right, and that's Pedro Pascal's whole thing. Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal is giving you whatever you
Right.
want as a wish,
Right.
and he's going to take something
Right.
from you.
And how
but
did-
he decides
Right.
what it is.
Right, and that's another thing is, how does he know that that's how it works? How does he know
you
that
don't
how
know
does
any
he
of
know
that.
that the
That-
mechanism of the idol
Like-
is that when you wish for something, something gets taken away,
You don't know that.
Right.
You're
And-
never
and-
you never
and-
you never told that how he knows.
and
any
he
of that
shouldn't
stuff.
know that either. But all of a sudden, he like, because it almost was confusing to me, because he's like, his wish is to become the idol, and now when he's granting people's wishes, he's taking stuff from them.
But what's missing
And I'm
from
like,
this?
how does he know that? How
But
does-
what's missing from this? What's missing from this is context. What's missing is we should have seen some type of
something.
scene between from Pedro Pascal figuring out that this exists
Yeah.
in this world
Yeah.
and how it works,
Yeah.
and we don't get that.
Okay, so one, they provide no context of that. Two,
Right.
they provide nothing that would give you the leeway to say, okay, I don't know the backstory, but I get, or I
can accept.
accept
Yeah.
that he could have had, that there is context there
Yeah.
that he could figure this out. And that's what you don't get. You get no indication that he should know anything about how any of this works. Because he's not, like I said, he's not like a Lex Luthor or Victor Von Doom that would those type of people.
From an academic aspect,
Academic,
intellectual, he's
even
not.
a power base,
Yeah.
people with resource, like those types of characters would have some sort of access to arcane knowledge or,
I
or
would have
ancient
much-
history text and the resource to funnel it and get to it. And he's just some frickin' guy.
Yeah. No,
He's
at the end of the
just-
day, he's a con man.
He's a criminal.
Yeah.
He's not like a criminal mastermind. He's just a guy trying to make money so that he doesn't he doesn't have a wife. He's got a kid and he wants to.
I feel like
right by him.
I feel like that's where they did Max Lord an injustice, was making him this con man and not making him more of the intellectual villain that, at least in the comics, that he is.
Yes, and
but
see,
we do
I suffer from not knowing his
You
character.
don't know- you
in the
don't know him as
comics.
well,
So I don't
yeah.
know.
He definitely brings on takes on a much more a stronger role in the early to mid 2000s. But in this film, we get to a point towards right before that final battle where,
Final battle where?
that Steve figures it out. Steve tells Diana, you have to renege your wish. So he understands what's going on, that you're losing your abilities because of me. And he gets it.
Yeah.
And there is an emotional component to this film that I feel that's probably what Patty Jenkins was going for.
Well, not for nothing. Steve Trevor should be telling Wonder Woman to renounce her wish, because it's really not fair to the guy whose life never like Steve Trevor should be feeling unbelievably guilty that he's taken over this poor bastard that is now I mean,
Living
I don't even
vicariously
know,
through
yeah,
Chris
I don't even
Parker.
know where I don't even know where that guy's consciousness is.
It's not, because at the end of the film, he has
He's-
no idea who Diana is when he sees her.
Oh yeah, because when everything goes back to normal, he's just back to his life.
He's back to his life.
And
He has no idea who she is.
I mean, I guess he just lost a week or two somewhere and just said, "All right, I don't know what the hell happened, but whatever."
But besides that, leaving that point aside, Steve figures it all out, and he tells her, you have to renege your wish.
Yeah, and she don't want to
and
do
she
it.
doesn't want to do it. And there is a real emotional aspect to loss, and she doesn't want to go through that again. And you kind of, like you start to actually feel for Diana from the beginning of the film, where you see how lonely she is, and she even discusses that with Kristen Wiig when they have that lunch.
Yeah.
At one point, where she discusses that it's like she's a lonely person. She is by herself, and Steve is the one person that she's truly loved her entire life since that. And you're talking from like the 19. What was it? 1914 to 18 was the First World War. So you're talking from then all the way till the 1980s,
Yeah,
1984.
I keep mixing that up because the Wonder Woman...
It's not World War II, it's World War I.
The Wonder Woman TV show took place in World War II,
right.
But the Wonder Woman movie took place in World War I.
If you think about that, you talk about that many years in between. That's a long time to love one person and not looking at anybody else.
Yeah.
And she has this person in front of her, and now she has to say, I renege my wish. I give you back.
Give her up.
I give him up. And I understand, like that scene in DC where the two of them are together, and Steve tells her like, I've had a great life. You got to let me go.
Yeah,
that's hard. Like to watch that. Like if you ever lost someone that's been like close to you and young, like. That is so to get what you finally want and to lose, and you have to make that choice.
Yeah,
it's not the other person. Steve can't make that choice for her. She has to make it.
Right.
That is extremely hard, and that is one of the things that I actually give credit to Patty Jenkins in this film, because to make that decision is extremely tough.
Yeah, and see, and I get that emotional core of the film. My problem is that they took an idiotic route to get there.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think how they get to that point is not the best route to go.
And to me, the idiotic route undermines
the emotional component.
All these things have an impact. You can't just blindly go through a film and accept everything, and then all of a sudden you get this emotional payout, and it's all
everything's okay now.
You know what?
Yeah. No, it wasn't as earned as it should have been. But that scene does pay off to a degree. And then all of a sudden we get to the finale.
Well, before we get to the finale, there's a couple of scenarios with the whole wishing thing that I found funny. Well, so my first question is okay, so the very first person in the movie that makes a wish is the guy who wishes he had a cup of coffee.
Right.
And he gets it.
Yep.
I always wanted to know, what did he lose in return?
You don't know that.
You don't know. But I'm like...
He lost something.
He could probably lost something small. Because I almost think like what you get...
So what you wish for and what you get are comparable. Yeah.
So he got a cup of coffee, but when he opened up his lunch, the Reese's peanut butter cups that he packed went missing.
Wasn't there?
Where'd they go? Somebody stole. Whatever. But
very, very true.
So that, I found that interesting. I wanted to know what he lost,
right? And
they never told you. And so so the other part that's more significant is so Kristen Wiig wishes to be like
Diana,
and she gets that, and I get that.
But she loses her humanity.
Right. I get the outcome of her wish.
Yeah.
What I didn't quite buy is the people around her's reaction to her getting her wish. Because they were almost under a spell. Oh, you're so pretty. Oh.
Well, they start to see things that they didn't see before.
Well, see, to me, because she didn't wish for people to like her.
But Diana gets stared at everywhere she goes.
Okay, so let me give you an example. When you have these scenarios where people are under a love potion or a love spell. Yeah. They're under a love spell, and all of a sudden they see you, and that's all they see, and they're attached to you. It's like you're under a spell. Her wish to me did not imply that the people around her would be under some sort of spell to notice her and admire her.
Well, I think
that's how it played off, where the people were just oh my God.
Well, it played off like that, but I also think too that it wasn't the fact that to me it's how are these people looking at Diana, and I think these and what they
I don't think they look at Diana like that.
I think they do. I don't think it was shown so much in the film. I think when they have Diana in the museum, I think it would have served better if you had those guys
being super
like,
attentive to
"Hey,
her.
Diana,"
and
like,
they're right, and
yes.
they're not. They don't.
And
show
they're
them.
not. They don't show
You
that.
know?
I think that would have served it better for when Kristen Wiig came out, and all of a sudden they started paying attention to her, because then they would have shown that. Because they showed that they don't pay attention to her at first.
No, right, and that makes sense.
And that makes sense.
Well, to me, I don't know that it makes sense because, like I said,
I know,
but you know, like I would, if I was, I'd be like, wow, she's like, really smart and nerdy, but she's hot too, like.
But in this context, what they're going for,
because she wasn't unpretty.
No, she didn't have it put together.
Yeah,
that's really what they were showing.
I'll be honest with you, it reminded me a little bit of like Chloe Grace Moretz in the Carrie movie, where like Carrie is supposed to be the person that everybody hates and she's ugly, and it's like, you put Chloe Grace Moretz in that role and it doesn't quite work because she's not ugly.
Right.
I don't feel they made Kristen Wiig repulsive enough when she, like for people to hate her, because I'm looking at her, I'm like if I saw her for the first time, I'd be like, oh, she's actually kind of hot, but she's a little.
I don't think it was the fact that people were hating her. I just think that they just didn't pay her any attention.
Yeah,
but I agree with you. Like they didn't show enough that like they should have had a scene where like those guys that didn't pay attention to Kristen really paid attention to Diana, especially as when she walked in the room.
I think maybe
they should have done that.
I think maybe they did the reactions to her to excess, to unbelievability, because it literally made it look like they were under some sort of spell of attraction, because they were almost like.
But it wasn't just men; it was women too.
Yeah, it was
because when they had
it was like they were drawn to her. They were impossible to take their eyes. It was like
it almost looked like. But you have to remember too, like when
it was a little surreal
when she had that meeting inside the museum. And it was her speaking to everybody in the room. There was men and women in the room, so they were all paying attention to her. It wasn't just men.
But they made it almost like they were instantly attracted to her, as opposed to like oh hey oh hi like a real person would react.
It wasn't like a natural.
They were almost they were almost like they was like oh and they all would follow her around. It made it look like they were under a spell, and that was not what she wished for. She didn't wish for people to like her. She wished to be like Diana, and most of that was really like.
It was more of an admiration of what Diana.
I almost want to feel like she almost like copied her abilities and like strength and.
I think that's what the that's what the undertone was. Not Kristen Wiig not knowing of who she was. Yeah. She just wanted to be. She wound
up getting, and I'm okay with that. To me, I just found that whole presentation of that to be cartoonish.
How she becomes Cheetah, to me, is cheated in this film, because I almost feel like like she.
Okay, so now
if I'm right,
I don't know how she becomes Cheetah in the comics.
I think she becomes Cheetah in the comics by something like something Greek, like not a Greek tragedy, but there's something. There's some like interaction from Themyscira or something like that turns her into Cheetah.
Okay, because the Cheetah from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s literally just looks like a girl in a cheetah suit.
But I wonder if it's like an idol. But there is like an idol. Like there's something that's involved
that gives her like some cheetah power.
That gives her like these.
Because there's later incarnations of Cheetah where
it's definitely changed over the years.
Yeah, the later incarnations of Cheetah are more along the lines of her final transformation. Like, and I'm trying to really like almost like a really powerful like animalistic.
And I think there's something to the I want to say the New 52 possibly, where like in the New 52 we were introduced to Barbara Minerva, and then eventually she transforms into Cheetah. I can't remember how that interaction took place, but with Geoff Johns as part of the story, my feeling is that like he did something towards that, but I almost feel like it wasn't done as well. It just wasn't. The fact that like she ended up just wishing to be something more like primal, and an apex predator. Yeah, that's what she wanted to be.
And that's
there's all these undertones of
and to me, that's a more powerful character. And I think like probably for the past 20 years, the Cheetah character in the comic books is more along the lines of that. And that's why when I like saw George Perez and I asked him, I just said, draw me Cheetah, and he started to draw it. I'm like, wait a second.
Which Cheetah?
Don't draw me today's Cheetah, because today's Cheetahs are some, I said, I want the traditional, Cheetah. And he looked at me, so he saw my age, and I think he goes, I know what you're talking about.
I thought the Cheetah look in the CG, I thought was very well done. I liked how they made her look on Kristen Wiig in the film.
Before she became super feral, or prior or after?
No, like when she was Cheetah.
When she was like at the end.
At the end, yeah, the final battle. I like that a lot.
I like that, but I also did like her prior to that.
Oh, the DC fight, the fight when they were in the White House
in Washington
is
DC.
great.
Yeah. No,
but
I
liked her. I liked what they
character.
did. I did like what they did with the fight scene, and of course, we have to mention too the Alex Ross nod in this to Kingdom Come, which is the gold Wonder Woman fighting costume, which first appeared in,
was that
Kingdom
first
Come.
in Kingdom Come?
I'm almost positive that was first in Kingdom Come.
It might have been
with Alex Ross,
because that also reappears in Wonder Woman with Adam Hughes.
Yes, and Adam Hughes has stated multiple times how he hated that because it was so hard to replicate. He says it's amazing. It's an amazing look, but it was such a pain to replicate that on his covers.
Because when it's funny though, when I saw that battle armor, I was immediately
Alex Ross
cognizant.
Of
Adam Hughes.
Well, because he had to do it multiple times on his covers.
Yeah,
during his Wonder Woman run that he did.
I actually completely forgot that was in Kingdom Come.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's fantastic. It's such a great look. It really is. And we see it for it's a really short stint. It's not long at all.
However, Cheetah demolishes a lot of it though.
She ruins
she demolishes the wings.
The wings.
Yeah.
And then Diana finally takes it off. And then eventually her and Diana go at it, and eventually Diana does get the upper hand on her, which she should, because she's an Amazon warrior and she's a fighter.
So now you go to the finale.
This is probably one of the more controversial scenes in the film.
Yeah, the whole finale is just...
It's based on...
Everybody gets their wish. Everybody in the world
Right.
gets their wish. And now, to save the day, Wonder Woman has to convince everybody in the world to renounce their wish. And I remember going to Chris, and I told him, I said, not for nothing, Chris. There's some kid out there going, screw you, I ain't giving up my Hot Wheels. He wished for, that whole Hot Wheels set, and he's just not giving it up. Like, he's not.
I think... The ending to
and I think there's a lot of people that aren't going to give up their wish. You're not going to convince.
Mid-1980s was a really tough time, I think, for a lot of people. And I think it would have been hard-pressed for some people to give up their wish, especially once they've had it and they've had a taste of it.
Like, say you're talking because they showed a lot of people wishing for stupid things.
But what about all those people that wished for loved ones that have died to come back?
My wife just died. I wish she was.
Or what if it was your child? What if it was your child and you wished for that person to come back? And obviously, okay, we get it. This is overthinking it. We know that.
Right.
However, this is in the realm of possibility with what these wishes were. Yeah, because Maxwell Lord is reaching out to the entire world and telling them, give me your wishes. Tell me what you want. Although I did love his line of, what's the line that he says in the beginning? Life is good, but it can be better. Yeah. That I did. I thought that was good. Okay. I like that.
Now, aren't you only supposed to get one wish?
You were supposed. I don't. That is how it's perceived.
Yes, but Kristen Wiig
gets two. Now, but did she get it because the first wish she had was with the actual stone, and the second wish was with him.
And I'm like, I don't know that qualifies as being able to get two wishes.
He says a line where
maybe it does, but
he says something where
I don't know why it would.
He says a line when they're on the plane, and he's like, "I'm the one that controls the wishes." So I don't know if that means that she does get an opportunity to have a second wish.
She got a second wish.
She gets two.
And I think she might be the only person in the movie that got two.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, if you told the guy with the cup of coffee that he got a second wish, he'd be ecstatic because he was going to be like, I'm going to wish for a lot more than that.
But ultimately, I do think that is. I do think that's a plot hole. I just have a hard time. The ending of this film is basically Wonder Woman uses her lasso of truth on Pedro Pascal, on Maxwell Lord, who is within the satellite signal that's going out to the entire world and supposedly touching everybody.
Yeah, which I don't know that I buy that would even happen.
And
But
her,
okay, I'll accept that.
and her lasso of truth, she starts to just talk and gives this monologue and about truth. And and Pedro Pascal thinks she's talking to him, and she's like, no, I'm talking to everybody else.
Yeah.
And you just start to see around the world people getting the Wonder Woman's voice like almost in their head, and the fact that she's trying to convince them to give up their wishes and to renounce their wish. This is like the emotional part of the film, because what ends up happening is through the lasso, she shows Maxwell Lord his own son, who's running away from this mob that's coming after his father. And to a point where he's almost trapped and doesn't know where to go. He's at one point he ends up in this like open field, and just all he's doing is wishing for his father to come to him.
Oh, that was also very convenient. That like he takes a helicopter back to Washington, lands in
And
the field somewhere,
stays there, yeah.
and all of a sudden he's
His
right
son was
where
there.
his son is. I'm like, okay, that's really convenient.
But I almost think but the lasso I think showed Maxwell Lord
Kind of
where he was, so that's why he knew where to go back
Okay.
to. I might be stretching it. I'm admit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you get all these stretches, and after a while, something's going to break.
Yeah.
You got to go.
But-
You have to say, really.
But
Really?
this was such this was an emotional aspect of the film that I think was supposed to have a huge impact, and I feel like it missed.
It was supposed to be the feel good resolution where Wonder Woman shows
Right.
the world the light and the ray and it's just like,
because Wonder Woman's known as this love, compassionate character.
well, okay, so to be fair, also I think at this point I don't know that Wonder Woman is well known
No, she's not.
because she's still like this.
She's the urban legend.
She's the urban legend that
she's
that
been,
is almost
she's been in hiding.
that is unknown. It's like she's not like this urban legend that everybody's embraced. She's just an
No.
urban legend that nobody knows anything about.
This is very different from Justice League time, which is basically 30 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's not there yet, and I think this is where the difference is between Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman and Batman vs Superman, when they talk about she's been away from mankind for 100 years, which we all know is bogus, and Patty Jenkins, which is she started in Wonder Woman in World War I, and then all of a sudden now we have 1984. So obviously there is a mishmash of information between the two visions of Wonder Woman, but this is what it is at this point in time, and there was an emotional component to this. I don't know if this is accepted or bites, or you feel this as much as I think this personally. I think the Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman scene earlier in the film
Was more emotional.
was much more emotional, as like she has to give that up, but her having to this is speculation. Her using the lasso on Maxwell Lord, telling everybody that they have to give up and renege their wish. I don't know how much she's able to use her own empathy, telling people she knows how hard it is. She understands how difficult it is to give this up. She had to do it. And is that
enough to convince everybody?
Is that enough to convince everybody?
Everybody in the world to say, yes, I'm with you. Boom.
Obviously she had to give up something extremely tough and extremely difficult to give up somebody that she loved. And was that enough to convince everybody? I don't know. I think that's very, very tough to say that. But I mean, obviously they did, and it's a movie, and if it was the real world, I still have trouble seeing everybody renounce their wish.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Because I'm sitting there going, like, I'm going to wish for a Fantastic Four #5 near mint, CGC graded signature
Signed
series,
by?
signed by Stan Lee and Joe Sinnott. And I'm going to sit there and say, you know what? I hope everybody else renounces their wish, and everything
I'm
goes
gonna
back
get
to
mine.
normal, and I still get to keep my comic book my Grail,
Yeah,
my Grail book.
was there a percentage that we were able to give up?
Yeah.
You know, like
You
was
know-
it 95% or 90% people, or
At-
did it have to be 100%?
At the end of the day, I'm not giving up my Hot Wheels. You know?
Yeah, I think I think obviously with this type of a release, it was difficult because typically the actors and the director go on this huge media tour that talk about the film and things that happened within the film. And with a release structure, how they had it, I don't really think that we got that as much as we would have liked, or at least I didn't see the typical like interviews and media that we normally would for a film of this size. I mean, if this film was originally released the way that it was supposed to in June of 2020,
I think it would have been the same movie.
this could have been, obviously this would have been the same type of film, but I still think it would have made a ton of money in the theaters because that opening weekend,
Everybody would have went.
the opening weekend would have been a huge
No, and
weekend.
I'll be honest with you. I think this movie would have made money no matter what, because a lot of the things that we're criticizing about it, I think the average moviegoer wouldn't care. Would care less about.
Granted, listen, we know we're nitpicking stuff.
No. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we're nitpicking. I think we're discriminating moviegoers, whereas the average moviegoer is non-discriminating, and they
just would've
just
went and
they
enjoy-
turn
yeah.
off their brain
Yeah.
and they go on for the ride, and they don't care whether it makes sense or not.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. The average moviegoer, in my opinion, is. I mean, they're mindless. You know,
Yeah.
they're just going to be entertained for a
Entertained.
couple hours, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Listen,
film as an art form to be criticized. Film is an art form to be criticized
yeah.
and disseminated and discussed and broken down. And you can do that with any film, even today's films that, are, many of them might be stupid, but you can sit down and call them stupid. And I think I think most people don't consider it as an art form to
Right.
be discussed and broken down and talked about. And and that's a shame.
I'm going to say this. When I saw it on Christmas Day
On HBO Max.
on
the
HBO
TV.
Max on my television, I thought it was okay. I'll be honest, I was disappointed watching.
Who did you watch it with? By yourself?
It was me, my two boys that watched it in here,
Okay.
and that was it.
You watched it with the family?
I watched it with the family.
Okay.
Yeah, just
I wasn't sure if
on
it
TV.
was a solo.
No, that was it. And I am actually happy that I actually saw it in the theater
On the big screen.
on the big screen.
I purposely did not. I did not want to watch it on HBO.
I
Max.
had-
I wanted to watch it on the seat.
I'm going to be honest, I had a much better experience because, one, that's how I feel movies of this caliber are supposed to be watched. That's one.
Yeah.
Two, I picked up things the second time around that I didn't get to pick up the first time. And I'm going to admit, I enjoyed the film more the second time around.
I'll be honest with you.
Than I did the
have
first time.
I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it a little.
I still don't listen. I'm going to say this.
I didn't-
It's still.
Oh,
It's the
I
second.
didn't not enjoy the movie.
I know what you
There
mean.
were certain aspects that I enjoyed.
It drove you nuts.
And I went with it, and then there was a lot of things that just
Listen,
drove me nuts.
the second time I saw this film in the theater, there were things that still bothered me, but I actually enjoyed this film more the second time around. There were things that I picked up that I understood that Patty Jenkins was going for as far as an emotional component to this film that I think she was trying to drive home. And I picked up that a lot more the second time through. And I did enjoy that. I still think this could have been better than what we saw.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much Warner Brothers interfered with this film. I know that Patty Jenkins has been on record again. We've said this before, that she has been on record saying that she has had that Warner Brothers did interfere a little bit more in the first film. So I don't know if that happened again or if they kind of gave her free reign. But I will say that I did enjoy the film a second time around. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it more than that. And it wasn't like a huge shift from like one end of the spectrum to the other, but I did enjoy it more.
I feel that this movie had the potential to be a lot less stupid than it was, and I wish it was a lot less stupid. Like they
You want to say convenient, not stupid.
they
Convenient.
they could have told the same story better.
Yeah.
They could have made it.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have made it. They could have told the same story, and made it less stupid.
I don't disagree. I'm not going to say stupid. I'm going to say less convenient because it was definitely convenient in areas. I think that they could have filled in some scenes. And maybe some of those scenes they did film and they ended up putting them on the cutting room floor for reasons we don't know. That's a possibility. Like maybe they filmed some of those scenes with Maxwell Lord and how he found out about the crystal and why he
Sure. This could be a whole repeat of Batman vs Superman, where they cut out all the things that would make the movie better. Because
and when you watch the director's cut of it, it makes more sense.
Sure, because we directly
We've been through
experienced that
this.
with Batman vs Superman.
Right.
I also think that if I watch this movie a second time, and I can tell right now, I definitely am going to watch it a second time.
Yeah, I know you are.
Because I am so enamored by Kristen Wiig's characterization from beginning to end, like the transformation.
Her
from beginning to end.
transformation's fantastic.
I mean, I could watch this movie multiple times just focusing on that and enjoying and reveling her performance, because it really was enjoyable. She brought so much characterization
to that
to
Cheetah.
each
Yeah.
to
Like the transformation.
from the original to the original nerd to the empowered character to the animalistic character. It really was good, and you really kind of get
you almost have to wonder,
I have more an attachment to her character and more investment in her character than any other character in the movie.
and you almost have to wonder what's going to happen to her afterwards, because she obviously renounces
Well,
her
she doesn't
wish.
die.
She doesn't die. She renounces her wish, because you see her in human form at the end.
Yeah, I think she goes.
So are we going to?
I think she just went back to her normal self.
But is she going to be so obsessed to get back to being Cheetah because she loved that?
Yeah, but I don't know that there's any way for her to do that.
Unless she does it through the gods.
Yeah, but how would you do that? There's no avenue to do that.
She has to find a way to Themyscira.
Yeah, which she doesn't even know what that is.
Not yet.
Unless she goes on the internet, which doesn't exist yet, and find out.
But I think to me, that's an avenue that's left open. So I would be interested to see how that goes. Now, Patty Jenkins has already been signed on, as well as Gal Gadot, to do Wonder Woman 3.
Which, yeah, absolutely, they should be doing.
Which you knew that was going to happen. Now, Patty Jenkins has already been on record saying that the next film she wants to be in current time. She wants to be.
Well, that makes sense,
and that makes sense to me too. I agree.
Because I'll be honest with you, I was very
time.
much okay with the creative decision to make it in the '80s. I'm like, you know what? I thought that was actually a good idea, and I'm okay with that.
But I think the third film should be current day.
Yeah. Go from.
I want to see like where she is post Batman vs Superman, post Justice League.
I'm curious
where she's at.
What villains they would use, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know that Wonder Woman has like that.
A huge
rogues gallery of all these villains. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day,
it might be another it could be another Greek god.
I like the only villains that I could have told you, even right now, that who's her big villains, I would have said Cheetah and Ares. And that was movie 1 and movie 2.
Giganta.
Oh, Giganta.
Giganta
was
okay.
One. Yeah, Giganta. Yeah.
So that's another. But again, we don't know yet. This is all early on. They haven't even started anything with this film. So, but that's what we know so far.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's no reason to not do a Wonder Woman trilogy.
Absolutely not.
So I'm curious, from a money-making standpoint, how did they make their money on this film? Where did the money come from? The box office couldn't. The box office would not be anywhere near where it was.
Not even close. You're talking about subscribers. You're talking about people. So it's judged differently when you're talking about like a streaming service, because it's like how many subscribers do they add on within the month? And they doubled. HBO Max doubled their subscription in December, so they got what they wanted.
Right. So at the end of the day, are they getting paid by HBO Max or by the people that ordered the movie?
Well,
How does that work? Like you got the movie because you
because I'm a part of HBO Max.
like you didn't have. It's not like a pay-per-view where you had to pay
But
$7 to
I
watch the
paid
movie.
for HBO so that
No, but to watch that movie, the day that you watched that movie,
Yeah.
did you have to pay like $7 to watch it?
no, because I already paid for HBO.
Right.
I
Okay.
paid for
So
that
I'm
premium.
assuming they got paid from HBO to have it available on HBO Max. Makes you wonder
I think Warner Brothers owns HBO.
how much money they got out of that deal.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's their plan.
Because
That's their plan with all their films for this year.
No, but that movie was made before COVID hit. No.
Yes,
So they
because that movie was finished.
Right,
the movie
they-
was finished.
yeah,
it was ready. It was ready to air in
weren't-
June.
They weren't making that movie in a COVID world where they had to figure out.
Right.
They were making it in a normal.
It was already
world.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I wonder how much money it took. I wonder what their investment was in that movie.
I don't know, but I think it's going to be the next year or two. It's going to be very interesting for the films that had already been made, like Black Widow. Black Widow still hasn't been released.
Yeah,
and this was
totally.
supposed to be released last May. So you're talking we're almost a year out from when it was originally supposed to be released, and they still don't know what they're doing with that movie.
Which drives me nuts because I have a first appearance Red Guardian Avengers that hasn't gone up in value because nobody knows about it.
So I mean, between that film.
Because they hadn't released the film.
And you're talking about multiple. I mean, James Bond got pushed back. The
Oh,
new
there's tons.
Ghostbusters film got pushed back. There were so many movies that got
forget
pushed.
about this year's Academy Awards.
Are they
like-
having it?
I don't even know, but they probably are. But it's almost like because movies were released in 2020.
They were, but most of them were released on streaming services.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but movies were released theatrically in 2020.
The movie that made the most money in 2020, do you know what it was?
No,
Take a wild guess.
I couldn't. I don't even know. I don't even know if I could tell you movies that were released in 2020.
I'm pretty sure it was Bad Boys for Life, the Bad Boys 3 movie. Will Smith
God.
and Martin.
Well, that's not going to be up for any Academy Awards. But
No.
the first quarter of 2020 definitely had movies released.
It did. We saw a movie in March. We saw a movie within 2 weeks of the movie theaters being shut down. We saw Birds of Prey. That was the last film we saw.
Yeah, I'm very curious what they're going to do with the Academy Awards because I don't think they're going to cancel them. Because at the end of the day,
There were movies released.
there were movies. There are movies. There
But you
are.
have to-
I mean, what are you going? What are you going to do? Have the only thing you could do is if you
You amend the rules.
well, if you cancel the Academy Awards for 1 year, that means next year has
both.
2 years of consideration.
Which is
insane.
that is.
I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to have an Academy Awards, and it's going to be full of nonsense and movies that you never even heard of because who the hell has even gone to the movies at all?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just going to be.
It's gonna be-
and not for nothing. I'm so disenchanted with the Academy Awards now with all the rules that they have for. It's becoming a politically correct. You know, like it's not about the best. It's about which choice is going to make people less angry. I don't know. It's and plus, like I said, I couldn't tell you a single movie released in 2020 that I think is a contender for Best Picture. Because I don't even know
None.
what was good that was released.
No, you're going to probably find more films that were better that were released on streaming services than we actually saw in the theater within the first 3 months before the shutdown happened.
Yeah. So what are
In-
they going to? Yeah.
in
What are they
all
going to
honesty.
do? Because last year, even though streaming is taking over or whatever,
The rule was you had to have,
last
you,
year
you had to have a small.
you had to have a release
you
in
had
the
to have a
theater.
release date in the theater.
and they weren't. And nobody was able to do that now.
So the typical Oscar run is late in the year. It's always in the fourth quarter. We know that. There weren't many films that were released in that Oscar run that we could say, hey, you know what, this was an Oscar contender. We don't know yet.
But Wonder Woman was released in December, right? You said?
It was.
Yeah. So I think there were movies released in December that I think will qualify.
I don't doubt that Wonder Woman was going to try to get some awards. It's not going to be Best Picture.
No.
But maybe some technical awards. Yeah, that's a possibility.
Possibility.
But I don't see anything else.
So at the very least, I think this year's Academy Awards is going to be very interesting and chaotic and probably controversial because it's just going to be.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way: 2020 was crazy across the board.
Yes.
In every business and every,
including
cinema and
no
movies.
business went unscathed
So
from this.
It's gonna be there's an impact, and
Yeah.
it's the Academy, and I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with the Academy Awards.
So we'll end up seeing how it goes. But I think for right now, guys, we just want to have fun this year. We're going to try and
2021, we're gonna hit 50 reviews.
we're going to hit 50 at some point. So listen, we are going to have a mix probably coming up of some retro reviews because
Yeah.
we're kind of still stuck with not going to see what's in films, and some things that maybe are in the films that we are going to try to go and see. But we promise you, we are going to bring you guys reviews. We are back.
We're back.
We're back. We're better than we were.
Yeah.
And we hope that we bring you guys some entertaining reviews. We hope you guys watch. So please subscribe, like, comment, share. Do whatever you can. Get the word out. Johnny Mo and I are doing reviews. Yes, it is long form. It is not short because we like doing long reviews.
Oh.
We can't stop talking at 10 minutes and 15 minutes of a typical film. We got to give you the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for us to do something for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We'd be cheating you out on the
You're
experience.
not gonna hear anything that you wouldn't hear anywhere else.
That's right. We want to give you something that you're not going to get from a typical reviewer that's going to give you a 5-minute review. No, we want to give you the full deal.
You know,
So,
and we can draw from our experience, and we can give you something that you're not going to hear anywhere else. And that's why I think people that like us, that will sit there and listen to us for an hour and a half.
yeah.
Sometimes
we know
2
it's
hours.
we know it's long.
You're getting something that you're not going to hear anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And still to this day, we have not done a review that's longer than the actual movie we're reviewing.
We're going to try to keep it that way. So listen, with that, we are going to end this. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for either watching or listening. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you guys again on our next review. So thank you guys so much. Please stay safe, and we will see you guys again at the movies.
Yep.
Take care.
Take care.
Cheers.